So friends, this is my second video based on goods and services tax. In my previous video, I had already explained the concept of goods and services tax, that is GST. In this video, I shall solve two more important questions from the chapter GST. So this is the next question you can see here on the screen. A shopkeeper buys an article from a manufacturer for rupees 12,000 and marks up its price by 25%. The shopkeeper gives a discount of 10% on the marked price and gives a further off-season discount of 5% on the balance to a customer of TV. If the sales are intrastate and the rate of GST is 12%, find number 1, the price inclusive of tax under GST the consumer has to pay for the TV. Second part, the amount of tax under GST paid by the shopkeeper to the state government. And number 3, the amount of tax received by the central government. So now let us answer the first part. So here the question is, price inclusive of tax the consumer has to pay for the TV. First of all, I must know what is the cost price for the consumer. That means the price at which the shopkeeper is selling. So here it is already said that the cost price for the shopkeeper is 12,000 and he marks the article above the cost price. Right? So cost price for the shopkeeper equals to rupees 12,000. Right. Now marked price is 12,000 plus 25% of 12,000. So this is what the shopkeeper is marking. That comes to 12,000 plus 3,000. Use the rupees symbol. So this is rupees 15,000. Right. Now marked price is 15,000, but now again he is giving 10% discount on the marked price and then a further off-season discount of 5%. So discounted value of the article after 10% discount equals to rupees 15,000 minus 10% of 15,000. If you simplify this, you will get the value as 13,500. Right? So next, price of the article after 5% discount. Article after a further 5% discount How much do you think it will be equal to? 13,500 minus 5% of 13,500. So this gives 12,825. Right. Now I am rubbing the upper part of the screen. So now cost price for the consumer is 12,825. So the price inclusive of tax the consumer has to pay equals to rupees 12,825 plus CGST, that will be 6% of 12,825 plus SGST, which will be of same amount. Fine. Now if you simplify this, you get here, when you simplify, you will get plus 769.50. This will sum up to rupees 1539. That means rupees 14,364. Fine. So first part over. Now the second part, the amount of tax paid by the shopkeeper to the state government. So tax paid by the shopkeeper to the state government will depend on the profit made by the shopkeeper. Let me rub the screen and then solve the second part. Now the second part, again, the amount of tax paid by the shopkeeper to the state government. So we have to find the profit made by the shopkeeper, because the amount of tax the shopkeeper pays to the state government will be the percentage calculated on the profit. So SGST paid by the shopkeeper will be, you can see here it is 12% retained. So for the state government, only 6% of the profit. Right. Now profit means selling price minus cost price. In the very first step, I had written what was the cost price and we calculated the selling price also. So selling price was 12,825. Cost price was 12,000. Right. So calculation will give 6% of 825. That comes to 05.94. So rupees 49.50 is the amount of tax paid by the shopkeeper to the state government. And the third part, the amount of tax under GST received by the central government. That means the total tax received by the central government. And I told you earlier that whatever the consumer pays as tax to the central government and also to the state government is the total tax received by the state government and the central government. So for the tax received by the central government, we need to calculate 6% of the cost price for the consumer. So third part, We know the cost price for the consumer is, cost price for the consumer is rupees 12,825. So amount of tax received by the central government will be 6% of 12,825 rupees. That is rupees we had calculated earlier. If you look at the previous steps, it is 769.50. So this is the third part of the answer. So here we are dealing with questions related to intrastate, right? So let us move on to the next question now. A shopkeeper buys an article whose list price is rupees 8,000 at some rate of discount from a wholesaler. So here the rate of discount is not given. He sells the article to a consumer at the list price. The sales are intrastate and the rate of GST is 18%. If the shopkeeper pays a tax under GST of rupees 72 to the state government, find the rate of discount at which he bought the article from the wholesaler. So here list price is given as rupees 8,000. Let the discount be X%. So list price equals to rupees 8,000. Okay. Let the discount be X%. So selling price for the wholesaler will be 8,000 minus X% of 8,000, right? So this gives 8,000 minus 80x. Now input is GST. Here you can see we are only concerned about the tax received by the state government. So input is GST equals to, you can see here 18% means SGST will have a rate of 9% of 8,000 minus 80x. Now selling price for the shopkeeper. So we are finding the selling price for the shopkeeper so that we can calculate the output SGST. So selling price for the shopkeeper equals to rupees 8,000, because it is said that he sells the article to a consumer at the least price. So selling price is 8,000. Now output is GST. In my previous video I had already said that output tax is always calculated on the selling price of the article for the dealer, means it is collected from the consumer. So output SGST will be again 9% of 8,000. So this counts to rupees 720. Now according to the question, you can see here it is mentioned that the shopkeeper pays a tax of rupees 72 to the state government. That means output SGST minus input SGST is rupees 72. Let us substitute the values for output SGST and input SGST. So output SGST we have already calculated as 720 and input SGST we have calculated as 9% of 8000 minus 80x. So this is the equation in x. If we solve, we will get the value of x. This is 72. So let us simplify now. Before that, let me clean the upper part of the screen. So here now we have 9% of 8000 minus 80x equals to 720 minus 72. When we open the bracket, or we cross multiply rather, we will have 648 into 100 by 9. Right. So simplification of this will give 7200. I am writing on this part now. So 80x equals to 8000 minus 7200. This is equal to 800 rupees. So 80x. So x equals to 800 by 80, that is 10%. So x is 10. Thus, the rate of discount is 10%. Next, let us solve this question. A retailer buys an article at a discount of 15% on the printed price from a wholesaler. He marks up the price by 10% on the printed price. Due to competition in the market, he allows a discount of 5% on the marked price to the buyer. If the rate of GST is 12% and the buyer pays rupees 468.16 for the article, inclusive of tax, under GST, find number 1 the printed price of the article, number 2 the profit percentage of the dealer. So here the tax is under GST, but nowhere it is asked about how much is paid as CGST or SGST. So here we need not divide 12% as 6% and 6%. So we can consider the whole rate as 12% to find the total tax that is to be paid by the buyer. Okay. Because here it is said the buyer pays rupees 468.16, right, inclusive of tax. So we have to calculate the total tax paid by the buyer. So let's begin with the solution. You can see that 15% discount is given on the printed price and the printed price is not mentioned, the value is not given in the question. So we will assume the printed price to be X. So let the printed price of the article be X rupees X. Now discounted price for the dealer or retailer here in this question. I can write this as CP. Discounted price will be X minus 15% of X. So this can be simplified as X minus 3x by 20, finally giving us 17x by 20. Now the retailer has marked up the price by 10%. So marked price of the article. Marked price of the article. Now marked up the price on printed price, right? Not on the discounted price, on the printed price. So here it will be marked price equals to X plus 10% of X. This is equal to, we are cancelling 0 here, right? So this is equal to 11x by 10. Okay, now on this marked price, the retailer will give 5% discount to the buyer. So selling price for the retailer. Selling price for the retailer, which is equal to the cost price for the buyer, right? So selling price for the retailer will be 11x by 10 minus 5% of 11x by 10. So we can simplify this and we will get it as 11x by 200, because this and this cancels to give you 2. Simplification will give you, I am writing in the next line, simplification will give you 220x minus 11x by 200, right? So this is equal to 209x by 200, which is also equal to the cost price for the buyer. Now how much the buyer is paying? Here it is said 468.16. In terms of X, let us find out how much the buyer pays inclusive of tax. So amount inclusive of tax. Inclusive of tax paid by the buyer will be 209x by 200 plus tax, right? And what is the tax paid by the buyer? So cost price first, and now we are going to write the tax as 12% of 209x by 200. So please simplify this, and you have to simplify it very carefully. Let me clean the upper portion of the board. So now this value is equal to 468.16 given in the question, right? So now let us simplify it. So 468.16 into, before I cross multiply, I have to simplify the right hand side little bit. So this implies 468.16 equals to 209x by 200, and within bracket we are left with 1 plus 12 by 100. So this, when simplified, will give 209x by 200 into 112 by 100. Now let us make x the subject. Let us cross multiply. So we get 468.16 into 100 into 200 divided by 209 into 112. So this is 46816 when multiplied by 100. 200 is left, and then 209 into 112. Now 209 cancels with 46,816 to give you 224. Also 112 cancels with 200. Okay, and if we cancel it with 8, here we are left with 14, here we are left with 25. Again 14 cancels with 224, to give you 16. So finally we are left with 16 into 25, that is rupees 400. So this is the first part of the answer, that is the printed price of the article is rupees 400. Now for second part of the question, children, we need to find the profit percentage. So in order to find the profit percentage of the dealer, I must know the cost price for the dealer and the selling price for the dealer. So let us evaluate that, because we have found it in terms of X only. So once we substitute the value of X, we will get the actual price. So now selling price for the retailer. In terms of X, we found it as 209x by 200. So substitute the value of X now. So selling price will come out as 418 rupees, right? Next, cost price for the retailer. Again, in terms of X, the cost price was 17x by 20, right? So 17 into 400 by 20, please simplify, you will get it as 340. So now profit percentage equals to SP minus CP by CP into 100. Okay, so SP is 418, CP is 340. So that is profit divided by CP into 100. This gives us 78 by 340 into 100. So now if we simplify it and we cancel this, we have 390 by 17. So this cannot be cancelled, but we can divide and write the answer in the form of mixed fraction. So 22 16 by 17. So second part of the answer, profit equals to 22 16 by 17%. So this much for today. In my next video, I shall come up with questions related to interstate sales. Thank you. Take care.